So, hi everyone, I'm Janelle Estes, Chief Insights Officer at UserTesting, and today we're very excited to have Kausamby Manjita joining us on the Human Insight podcast. Kaus is CEO and co-founder of Mason, an all-in-one platform that helps entrepreneurs automate their Shopify stores. Thanks so much for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me with you guys. Excited for the conversation that we're going to have.
Yes, I'm really excited as well. So, your company, Mason, helps e-commerce store owners run their business 24/7. And for this Insights segment, we've asked user testing contributors why they shop online and what some of their pet peeves are with shopping at online small businesses. Let's take a look at what they said, and I'll be curious to get your thoughts and reactions.
Ooh, this will be interesting.
I use Etsy a lot on my smartphone. I know there's a lot of small businesses and sole proprietorships, there you go, that's the word, on Etsy. So as far as small businesses go, but I do a lot of Amazon ordering on my phone as well because it's just convenient. Just hop on your phone and order what you need.
Cove USA is a small clothing business that's just now started out of California, and I used TikTok and I found their account and I went to their website and I bought several products from them. I've done that with other companies, one called Rogue or something like that. Just several different companies that I've found online through links and advertisements.
I should try to explain the owners that a web page or an app should be intuitive, as intuitive as possible, since what are you looking for when shopping online from your smartphone? It's comfortability, and it has to be as easy as possible.
The biggest pet peeves I have about this is shipping. I want something, that'll get to me quick, kind of like an Amazon. Amazon's really quick about getting stuff to you.
If I saw personally any item and it will be at least 5 times reviewed, it will give me more confidence to actually get it.
Especially the reviews, that's probably the biggest thing, is I want to see that this product, is worth it, isn't just a scam, and that this is a legit official shop, and that it's not just going to rip me off and give me some fake product.
It's not like Amazon, you can track everything and trust it, so...
All right. So a couple of things stood out to me. One was about, their need to feel like they can trust the organization that they're purchasing from. Another thing that I thought was interesting is this notion of social and how that plays into the shopping experience. But I'd love to hear your thoughts and what stood out to you.
Yeah, I think if you listen to each of the feedback and comments of users, and a lot of Gen Zs too now, they're shopping and they're the next big cohort, I think, segment out there who are not just shopping online but becoming super important in organizations and as consumers. The interesting thing is that there are elements of trust. Of course, there's comparison to how shipping in Amazon, and there's this whole part of whether the website's intuitive. I think someone said something of that sort. How easy can I find the products, and where do I find them, on TikTok or on Instagram or on somewhere else, whatever new social thing comes out there. The interesting thing is that we are all spoiled by the way Amazon, has taught us how to shop. We really think that's the way, that's the, I think, fundamentals of how people shop. They have nailed it already, right? It's, starting from how do I find my products? Why do I get attracted to them? How do I take the decision, right? And then post taking the decision, when I'm buying it, the whole process of fulfillment or whatever else that happens post the customer, the customer success part of all of that. All these 3 parts, your pre-purchase decisions, how you find it, what attracts you when you are buying, in the buying funnel, what are the elements that you're comparing with. How do you take a decision? Trust and, comparisons and all of that. And then post-purchase, right? When I'm buying it and post-buying it, when do I expect it to come? Are they communicating it with me? How's support? How's refunds? How's, returns? How's exchange? All of that. We are spoiled by the Amazon way of shopping. And it's not that Amazon's just taught us a certain way of shopping. I think they have nailed down the fundamentals of how people think about shopping online, right? And that's where you start seeing the gap. The pet peeves that people are talking about is literally the gap between Amazon and all the D2C brands. I mean, a major part of the D2C brands that are out there, right? Or retailers who are trying to set up their online and direct to consumer presence, is that they need to be more like Amazon, but they don't have that Amazon infrastructure. And interestingly, that's the gap in the ecosystem today.
Yeah, it's a really great point when you actually do listen to each of the points people made and what frustrated them the most. To your point, it is sort of where those D2C retailers or sort of small businesses don't meet, the same requirements that Amazon provides. I need to see more reviews. I need to know that it's going to get here fast. I need to know that I can trust who I'm purchasing from. I need to know what the return policy, like those are all things that, to your right, we've been conditioned to shop a certain way. And, I think, what is that quote? I've heard it a few times where it's like the last best experience someone has is what they compare your experience to. And sort of like, it's not exactly the same in this scenario, but really the reality is that people are comparing non-Amazon purchasing experiences to the Amazon purchasing experience because that's what they've been conditioned to and that's what they like. Let's back up a little bit. I love your commentary and the point that you made. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and what's top of mind for you these days?
Absolutely. As you said, I'm Kausamby and everybody calls me Kaus. That's what I go by most of the days. I've been building products for a while now. I love the juxtaposition, I would say, of technology and experience. It's kind of like an interesting middle ground where you have, things that we as consumers, as users, as small businesses, as large businesses, there are a ton of things that we need every day to be successful. And technology a lot of times has the answers to that, right? Everything that we need to solve for, every outcome we need to drive, there is some tech solution out there that can solve that problem for us. But whereas the middle ground is interesting because it's about making super powerful, complex solutions actually meaningful and usable by people, right? And without that element of things being usable and meaningful and something that actually, it's not just that it's valuable, but I understand as a user how it's valuable and why. Right? All of that comes in that middle ground, I would say. And I love being there where it's not just about solutioning, but also understanding how to make things simple, how to make things more easily accessible, right? So I've been doing that for a while. In the early part of my career, I was in IBM Commerce and building products which were a bit more complex in nature and for larger companies like DHL and FedEx and Walmart. And then I moved back to India for a bit. Post my B school, I worked at giants in e-commerce in Asia, an Alibaba subsidiary called Paytm, which recently went public, and then at a Walmart subsidiary called Flipkart and Myntra, which was all about, it's pretty much, the answer to Amazon in India right now. So built out a lot of solutions which hopefully helped not just consumers shop better, but also business teams within the whole ecosystem to showcase products better back to customers. So I've been in that space for a bit in e-commerce tech. I love shopping myself. I think that definitely gives me some bragging rights of why I think I do have some insights on how to build products that help people like me shop better and faster. And in the recent couple of years, I've been very interested in bringing these, complex technologies that larger companies like Walmart or Alibaba or Amazon use, and seeing how can the rest of the retail world, the rest of the 99%, actually get access to similar technology. And a lot of times they can't because it's super complex, it's hard to use, it takes like 6 months or 8 months to implement. And I think our question was, how do we simplify it and bring it to everybody else? So that's top of mind today, is how do we help, ton of retailers who are coming online, who will continue to come online and sell to, millennials and Gen Zs now. And they are all shopping on TikTok and they experience Amazon-like experience when buying from TikTok, right? So how do you help people do that? I think that's top of mind.
And your company, Mason, is focused on helping owners of Shopify stores be more successful and sort of using your word, sort of fill the gap, right, between the way D2C companies traditionally sell online and what that experience is like, and the gap between that and what they experience from bigger retailers that have, to your point, more infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. So can you tell me a bit more about what are the problems that these small business owners face online, or is there anything that we maybe haven't quite touched on?
I think that if you just, again, zoom out a little bit and just look at it, it's just one problem. There's this like interesting number, right? 98 out of 2 people who land on any brand store, non-Amazon, right? Usually 98 out of 100 people just drop off. They don't buy from you. So only 2 on 100 people who are jumping into your store from a TikTok or an Instagram or from some ad that they saw online, they end up buying 2, and 98 are just dropping off. So that's literally the problem. I mean, there are, of course, many technical subcategories of that problem. I can get into it. But at a high level, that's the biggest problem that's plaguing the ecosystem today. When you look at Amazon, they're actually getting 15 out of those 100 to buy. But when you are running your own D2C store, the best that you're doing on a great day, on probably Black Friday, you're getting 2 on 100 to buy, right? That's a massive gap. And that's the number one problem in this space today.
The solutions that you provide, are they focused just on the experience when somebody gets to that retailer's website, or are you looking at the broader ecosystem? And the reason why I ask is that I think that there's different ways that people arrive at a retailer's website. And so are you involved in any of that larger ecosystem, or are you focused just on the retail website?
Yeah. That's a great question. And honestly speaking, if you speak to any retailer today, and especially with privacy and, cookieless world, it's a reality today. It's super expensive to drive customers to your store. So it doesn't matter which channel you're using. You could be using a social channel. You could be driving, customers via email marketing, or you could be driving customers via, SMS or whatever it is, right? It's all of these channels are getting super expensive because of the whole privacy and cookieless world that we are entering into. And so the focus of that wider ecosystem has actually shifted to CAC is expensive. How do I make sure that I optimize my customer lifetime value, right? So it doesn't matter how many customers you're driving. There are tons of solutions out there who already solve for that problem, and a lot of it is your brand, right? How do I speak about my brand? What content do I create? There's great playbooks out there, right? The gap is actually once I get customers to even engage with me, it's super expensive for me to get them to engage with me. But the minute they do, today it's just broken. There's broken windows there. It's a super leaky funnel. Again, 2 on 100 versus 15 on 100 is like a huge gap for me to cover, right? And that's where, especially from post-pandemic world, where privacy and CAC are 2 very important questions out there. The focus of retail is shifting towards retention, shifting towards customer lifetime value, shifting towards how do I make sure that my return on ad spend is as high as I possibly can make it, right? So ROAS and CLV are like I think if you ping any D2C brand retailer, whoever, these are like two metrics that people don't even talk about CAC, because CAC's just shooting. Like, we all know that's happening, right? I think it's the same for B2B, right, Janelle? I mean, it's the same for everybody. Like, it's super expensive to acquire customers, even as traffic. Forget customers, even to acquire traffic. The question is that, can we make that traffic actually meaningful? Can we convert that into something actionable? Yes, over time, we do see growth as a more wider application, and we do want to continue to help with growing your business. So a lot of it would definitely be, how do you drive more traffic to your store? A lot of it would be, how do you reactivate customers who have dropped off? So, the upper part of your customer funnel and the end of your customer funnel. But today we focus on the middle part, which is the most leaky, and which is, the problem of the moment, which is, how do I make sure because of super high CAC, how do I make sure my ROAS and my CLVs are really making sense? It's making sense for me to be a sustainable business, right? So today at Mason, we solve for that. That's our number one priority and focus.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. So I have a good sense of what your business covers, and now I'm curious. Once there's so many different types of retailers out there. This space way more than I do, but I recognize that there's different types of buyers or different products. How do you nail it? Where like what when somebody arrives on your website, whether that's the home page or maybe a product detail page, like how do you get people to engage? How do you connect with them authentically? Like what's the approach that you all take?
And it goes back, and I love that question, because it goes back to what Amazon's doing well, right? And we have this very interesting, chart at work, and we look at it every day. It's the Amazon promise, right? Like, what are the things that Amazon helps you do? And of course, there's your discovery, right? Which is the awareness part that we spoke about. How do people discover products or brands? And then there is the middle part of the funnel, which is, browse, buy, decide, purchase, right? That part of your funnel. And then there is, of course, like, your support, fulfillment, any kind of returns policies, and, that fulfillment part. So 3 major chunks is what a typical Amazon, for example, does today. But when you zoom in and you look at it, the middle part, which is browse and buy, decide and swipe your credit card, right? That's the part that is just brilliant in Amazon, and elements, many different strategies and tactics you'd be very familiar with if you have ever shopped on Amazon. Things like, frequently bought together, things like, here are recommended products based on what you've bought before. There are things like, customer reviews. There are things like comparison. When you're browsing some products, you have like great comparison coming up. In fact, something as simple as, do I understand the product specifications better? I mean, Amazon product details pages are amazing at explaining, where even in the image carousel, you have all these like, these are the ingredients, this is how you use your product. This product's great for example, if it's electronics, it'll be like, hey, battery life XYZ, versus if you're buying skincare, it'll talk about like the ingredients and, the origin and stuff like that. So lots of different strategies, but if you like the 3 primary, segments of these strategies, it's data-driven merchandising. So it's not just merchandising, which is essentially super elemental to, I think, retail. Merchandising is how do you package and talk about your product, right? How do you package that in the right way? Everything from your materials to specifications to, ingredients to how you bundle it. Like, for example, earpods go with the iPhone, right? Like those are also great, super important elements of merchandising. But is it data driven? That's what Amazon nails. So it really nails the fact that different segments and different kinds of customers look for different reasons of why they buy. So they will always surface the information on the products that you're searching for in the right way, right? For you. So if I'm a value shopper and I'm looking for things which are, good prices and, great discounts and they work for me, all of that, like, am I getting good return on my money spent, versus someone who's looking for probably, more about the brand or more about, performance. right? Like gamers, when they're looking for phones, they look for performance versus I'll be looking for something else. So I think that is merchandising. How do you package information about the product, but using data? So data-driven merchandising is something that, greats like Amazon or Walmart do really well. The second thing is sales and promotions. We all love a good deal. But lightning sales, I think we love that, right? On Amazon, you get this little lightning deal and it's just there for the next 1 hour and you're super excited and you actually take the decision to swipe out that credit card at that moment. So sales and promotions, but making it meaningful, different kinds of sales and promotions, buy one, get X free, So there are many different strategies there again, but Amazon really nails it at ensuring that it has the right kind of sales strategy and discounting and promotion strategy, again, for the right segment. And third, fundamental, way that they have the browse and buy funnel is personalization. So again, for these different segments, recommended for me, frequently bought. If I'm buying X, people who bought this also buy these, right? So these are very simple, again, constructs, but you see that used amazingly for us to actually take decisions faster. For example, in certain segments, it's table stakes. As new parents, people really want to make sure they don't know what goes with rash cream. So they need that, diapers come with rash cream. Oh, I never thought of that, right? So it might seem like it's a way for people to buy more, but a lot of times based on the category, it's important for even customers to understand what goes along with that. Like for toys and baby care, frequently bought together is a super important way for them to buy. They don't know otherwise. New parents don't know what products go well with each other. So again, 3 primary things within the buy, and actual buy funnel, browse and buy funnel, is data-driven merchandising, awesome sales and promotions, exciting things that, grab our attention and make us just tip over, and personalizing it based on our intent and our needs, right? And who we are as a customer segment. These are, when you talk about these 3 elements, it sounds like such complicated infrastructural pieces, like, data-driven merchandising or, exciting sales and promotions. How do I even know whether do I run a buy one, get one or a flash? I don't know what to do. And personalization, of course, for majority of the e-commerce, retail world, that sounds like something which is so difficult. Like, what are the right segments? How do I understand? How do I test out what works for the right segments? So these are 3 things that marketplaces like Amazon have, and that's the part that is really missing in the when you talk to any retailer today, any young brand, or even brands who are in 30, 40, 50 million in GMV, who are running on a lean team of 5 or 6 people. This is the infrastructure that's very complicated, and they don't know what to do. How do we implement it? There are great solutions out there, but they are more enterprise grade, and most brands find it very, very difficult to implement it, being a just 5 or 10 member team.
Got it. So a lot of the focus for you and your team is helping to address those 3 core needs, like you just mentioned. And what I find fascinating about all of those 3 needs, so the personalization, the sales and promotions, the data-driven merchandising, like a lot of getting that right requires you to intimately understand who you're selling to and what's relevant to them. Like even your example of parents, with bundling products, you have to know, or at least maybe you were a parent as you're building this product, but if you're not, how does some person on a product team who might have just entered their career, really get to a place where they know that that's what the need is? And to me, a big part of what we do at UserTesting is really understanding customers as people, as human beings, and not just big data. I guess my question being, how are you using customer understanding, I guess, to inform those strategies for your customers?
Yeah. And it's 2 ways 2 parts to that, I think, problem. One is that, can we understand the segment deep enough to be able to, do the right thing for that segment? So for us, our sweet spot of customers in retail are teams who have found product market fit, but who are still small to medium So we don't sell to enterprises, but the product is super useful for people who have some amount of product market fit and now want to invest on growing their business. But within that, there are tons of industries. You're right. Like there's everything. And within each industry, there's like, which segment are you selling to? So even if it's fashion, are you selling to, young women who are, who's just started earning, or elder women who are, who are thinking about starting a family? There's so many subsegments even within that. So the two parts to that problem is, one, do we understand within our segment of brands that we sell to, what are the industries and subcategories, right? And the other part of it is, do we really need to answer everything, or do we need to empower our users, right? Our teams, our brands, so that they can understand their customers and do what's right for them. So a large part of it is, of course, data. Bringing data into one place is super important. I think a lot of times when we'll talk about the internal problem first, which is how do we build the right products for our customer segments. A lot of times, data is living in many different places. So you have, your customer success and all the support, chats and the information that comes from them and the feedback that comes from them lying in one kind of a system. And you have a product data in another kind of a system. And, you, of course, have your marketing data lying in a different system. You have CRM data lying in a different system. So I think the biggest question is that how do you bring, qualitative and quantitative data together into one view? That definitely starts becoming a very important part of how do you solve that problem. And I'm saying qualitative and quantitative because, as you rightly said, you can't just look at dashboards and claim that you understand people. It's not how it works, right? It's the people. There's some person behind that number. And when you're just looking at the number, you don't understand where that person came from, what was driving that motivation, what was the motivation, what was the intent, what was the goal, right? All of those get lost in your dashboards. So qualitative is super, super important part of that, balance, keeping the balance. So qualitative and quantitative data, everything coming together in one place is I think that's the number one thing. Even if you don't have everything in one place, once you know that there are different parts of, like each user has this 360-degree view and you have data about that user lying in different systems, then you definitely can start solving for any new product person or any new person in the team who comes in and who starts looking at, hey, what do I need to do next? My answer to that is always, first, let's can we try and understand where is that person today, right? That's the step one. Understand where they are today. We'll always get more insights on what we gotta do next, right? So I think the first part, as a kind of answer in a way to what the problem that you are talking about is, first we need to understand where each of our customers are, which is qualitative or quantitative. And I think the problem in product, most business and product teams today is that data lies in really multiple, systems. And it's very easy for someone to say, hey, just look at amplitude and, you get the charts and you're good. But that's not the only place. Understanding the 360-degree of support and success and CRMs and your sales and marketing information also gets super important. And then the second part of it is, now that we know that is the problem for us as a product team, imagine it's the same for that single retailer out there. That person's struggling too. In fact, that's a 5-member team. That's not a 30-member team. That's a bigger problem for him. And we have signups. Like a lot of times brands, when we are buying from brands, we check out as a guest. They probably don't have a lot of data either, right? And they're not data scientists. They're brand builders. So can we simplify data for them too? So that they can understand their users better.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I also love how you talk about maybe empowering some of your customers to sort of continue that learning and understanding, and get them sort of up to speed with how to better understand customers in order to serve them well. I wanted to share another video. We actually talked to some online store owners, retailers, about why they love what they do, as well as what some of their big challenges are. So I'd be curious to see how this resonates with you. Let's take a look.
Okay, so running my own store was the first thing that I really like about is that I can do it even when I'm so young.
What is the best part of running your own online store? I would say the freedom and control that I have over my business operations. I'm not really under a boss, so I can do whatever I want to.
Manage my own time, flexibility. Basically, I'm my own boss.
I mean, I can work on it whenever I want. Additional stream of income. Yeah, and mainly freedom.
I would definitely say the easiest part of running an online e-commerce store is the fact that it is online and I can put my audience out to anybody versus being at a brick and mortar where people would only be able to see me in one location or not everybody would be able to reach me.
I would suggest for anyone that tries to do online stores on Shopify to really research, read. It's not as easy as it looks or as they portray it to be. It takes a lot of work and effort in the beginning.
What are your 3 biggest challenges to running an online store? Definitely really promoting your product. That's like a huge thing. If you don't promote your product, then you're not going to get sales. So I that is a challenge, just trying to push it out.
I think, one of my biggest challenges was first just figuring out how exactly it all works and, getting in contact with suppliers, researching the types of products that I might want to sell, and then marketing and promoting. I feel like those were challenges.
I sometimes feel like my content is not being catered to the certain kind of audience that I want.
To me, it's to keep it alive, meaning that I have a schedule where I always have to make new beats and have new products for people that's coming in, people that regularly buy my beats.
If I could wave a magic wand, I would wave the wand and have more traffic to the site, with less advertising cost and better conversion rate. That would be awesome.
I think you summarized it. That's literally what we were just speaking about. Better ROAS and better CVR. That's literally the problem. And I love one point that the one person was making about keeping my store live, and I think it just shows that he's a little bit ahead on his journey of being a e-commerce brand or a retailer, because once you solve the problem of where do I get the supply from, what do I sell, essentially, the question is that it's not just about what do I sell, but how do I continue to sell interesting things all the time. So right promotions, launching new products, all of that become a large part. I love hearing these thoughts. It's always so exciting.
Yeah, it's great. You're solving a real need, that's for sure.
It's great to be reinforced. It's always great to see it reinforced in person, though.
Yeah, I am sure. It's sort of like you're, being able to sort of, hear right from your target audience or customers that you would be helping exactly the problem that you're trying to solve, and knowing that you have sort of a method and an approach to help them be successful. I'm sure that's super rewarding. So we're going to move on to lightning questions. So lightning questions are a series of questions that we ask everyone on the show. So the first one is, what's a book that you've recently read that you'd recommend to our readers?
So a lot of different books keep coming and going, but the mom test, actually, I remember it because I was reading it on my way back from San Francisco to Toronto just yesterday, and it's we tend to forget, being in the industry and being a product builder, and you're kind of your head's down into doing things that you do for, I don't know, 16, 17 years. And then you read Mom Test and you're like, yeah, stop with the jargons. If we can simplify, what you're talking about, what you're building, if you can simplify it to the level that your mom can understand or your mom can see the value in it. And I think I recommend it for everybody who's been building products, who are heads down into the product side, because a lot of times we're so into all of that, the whole everyday of building great products, that we tend to forget that sometimes it's about simplicity. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of just sort of simplifying it for just an average person to understand. And I'm sure some of that applies to when you're working and consulting with some of your customers, helping them see how important it is to simplify language and offerings and all of that good stuff.
Absolutely.
So what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone trying to convince others to invest in customer feedback?
Please do. Because I'm I love data, but make it qualitative too. Don't just give me quants, right? Don't just give me dashboards, because as we were already talking about during the last question, is that it's not just about a single data point, but the person on this other side of the data, and what are that person's needs and goals, and what were they thinking that day? How were they feeling that day? How were they feeling when they were doing that action or when they triggered that event in your workflow? But that it's not just triggering an event, that person's clicking on a button because he or she thought something. So I think that it's super important. Please invest in it. Sometimes it just gives you might cringe a lot when you're watching those videos or you're listening to them describe how they're feeling when they're doing things with your product. You'll cringe, but that's good. So please, get into more conversations, direct, watch your customers use your product, watch different kinds of customers use your product. It really opens your eyes.
Yes, absolutely. When you think about the future of e-commerce and some of the things that you're working on and thinking about every day, what are you most excited about?
That's a great question. There's so many things. I think the one thing that excites me the most is that everything's becoming super interactive. It's a two-way, it's a communication now. It's not just a one-way buy anymore. Every time they're, interacting with you as a brand or with your products, they're also giving you signals. People are giving you reviews. People are dropping in information about how they feel about it. With the very fact that they, added something to their cart but did not buy. Why, right? That's an insight right there. And commerce is becoming more and more interactive. In the real world, it's easier to get that to and fro. But online now, with quizzes and with more kind of sections within your app that people can give you information of how they feel, or they can drop in some nuggets about where you lead them into answering in a way the question of how they're feeling or who they are. Again, I would say user testing, but applied to e-commerce in some way. But that's the future of commerce, is interactivity. People are not looking at websites. It's just like Craigslist that you just scroll and you buy from, but actually living, breathing, almost like micro apps that they love to interact with, they want to play with, and they want to, kind of connect with, right? So a lot of the future of e-commerce is going to be about interactions, about back and forth information flow, and across channels. So composability becomes super important. It's not just going to be on a website or an app, but it's on social, it's on chat, it's everywhere, right? So composable commerce with a lot of focus on interactivity, like back and forth, is where the future of commerce is headed, and super excited about that.
Yeah, it is exciting to think about that future and what that will be like for us and for future generations. Thank you so much, Kaus, for joining us on the Human Insight podcast. This has been really fun to chat with you about, your perspective on e-commerce, the solution that you're providing at Mason, and the importance of bringing the customer along in sort of everything you do. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love those little videos. I think that just made my day. It reminded me about why we're doing what we're doing. So thanks for that.